As soon as he saw Faye's sharp eyes, this old man shivered in fear. He finally realized what kind of trouble he caused, and he felt like he just committed suicide. It was too late for him to regret his actions, and his mind was overtaken by fear. Escape! Quick! This was the first thought that appeared in the King of Black Sand's mind. Before he could think of anything else, he turned around subconsciously and dashed away. It was evident that he won't get much out of this exploration now with this severe injury. He could barely stand the insane water pressure, and the others who hated his guts might even kill him. The masters in the area witnessed this, and they all sensed chills in their bones. This level 8 low-tier New Moon elite couldn't even take one strike from the King of Chambord. It was shocking to them. This young king is as vicious as the rumors said to be. The King of Black Sand only looked at him in the wrong way, and this old man got beaten. The masters all thought. They stayed away from Faye even further as they were afraid that the young king might target them next. As soon as Faye succeeded in the first strike, he was about to strike again to kill this poisonous and ill-intent old man without hesitation. Faye wasn't someone who was inhumane and liked killing. From the look on the King of Black Sand's face, he was able to tell that this man was powerful and extremely sinister. Since Faye was already one of his targets and he got injured, Faye wasn't going to let this opportunity slide. If this man were willing to drop his dignity and attack Chambord using all methods, Chambord would face a disaster. Energy surges appeared underneath the invisible energy barrier, and all the masters became anxious. Suddenly, dashes of bright lights shot out of the structures at the bottom of the ocean and enveloped the masters. Soon, bright light dots appeared in the ocean. There were so many of them that they looked like stars in the sky. Then, these light dots started to move, and they formed many silver strips, then many silver images. As if an invisible pen was drawing in this ocean, 20 arched light gates that were 6 meters tall and 3 meters wide appeared after 30 seconds of commotion. There were many silver magic runes on these light gates, and the engraving patterns on them were mystic and complicated. All of these combined with the smooth curves of these gates, and everything looked beautiful and ancient. It was obvious that these 20 arched light gates were the legendary mythical gate. Opened. The mythical gate finally appeared. A Moon-class elite shouted. He reacted the fastest and dashed towards a light gate closest to him. After a white light flashed on the gate, he disappeared. In the next second, he appeared in the area that was blocked off by the invisible energy barrier. His appearance disturbed the mermaid-like creatures down there, and they all rushed at this man while screaming. It was evident that they wanted to tear him apart. The battle instantly took place. That master used his powerful techniques, and all the mermaid-like creatures that were within 3 meters of him were turned into clouds of blood mist. Now, everyone else woke up from the surprise, and they rushed toward the light gates beside them. Your Majesty, there are a ton of ancient magic traps and killing mechanisms in the mythical palace. As time passes by, unknown changes might have occurred there. We can wait up and let these people test it out first. The undead mage whispered into Faye's ear. You are right. Let me kill that triangular-faced old man first. He will create limitless trouble for us. Faye replied as he got ready to chase. Let Arthur take care of it. We can just wait patiently here, Hazelbank said to Faye as he signaled the boy. The undead bone dragon looked unwilling, but he murmured in displeasure as he stepped out of Faye's silver light sphere and soon disappeared. After 2 days of rest, this undead bone dragon's strength had recovered a lot. He was now at least a level 1 top-tier New Moon elite, so it should be easy for him to deal with that vicious old man. The masters in the area saw this, and they all knew what was about to happen. When they saw that little person in the black armor disappear into afar, they felt sorry for the King of Black Sand as they sensed this little person's strength. The King of Black Sand did a lot of bad things and killed a lot of innocent people, and he now finally offended someone he shouldn't. What goes around comes around. Faye finally realized that he gained 2 more strong arms after Hazelbank and Arthur joined him. These 2 people were even more powerful than him, and a lot of things that he had to take care of himself could be done by them now. Faye was thrilled, but he put on his poker face. He stood there with the undead mage and waited patiently for the masters around them to charge into the light gates and battle with the mermaid-like creatures on the other side. They were waiting for the perfect moment. Suddenly, a massive cloud of holy power approached. More than 20 people were enveloped in the silver holy power flames, and they entered one of the light gates more than 100 meters away from Faye. They were the masters of the Holy Church. Faye looked at Hazel Bank, who was silent beside him, and laughed. "It looks like those gadgets work well. You, an evil undead mage, is standing close by, yet none of them discovered your existence. Haha, interesting. The dogs of the Holy Church are sensitive to undead energy instinctively. Your Majesty, the God-fooling badges you created are magical. They easily fooled the Holy Church. With these 2 badges, Arthur and I would be able to do things a lot easier. Your Majesty is a genius." The undead mage flattered Faye. He wasn't someone who was serious and rigid. Instead, he was playful and adventurous. Therefore, after spending some time with Faye, he already became very close to the king. Faye shook his head and replied, "I'm not the creator of these badges. 2 mad scientists created them. When there is the opportunity, I will introduce them to you." Huh? More people are here. Several people appeared, and they dashed towards one of the light gates. One of them was Snow Mountain Hermit, and his disciples, including Modoc, Tony, Farrington, and other 8 9-star warriors, followed him tightly. With the protection of the fire elemental warrior energy flames of Snow Mountain Hermit, they quickly went through a light gate. Before going through, Snow Mountain Hermit suddenly turned around and looked at Faye's direction as if he sensed something. In the same time, Faye smiled at him. Only Snow Mountain Hermit could understand the danger hidden in the smile. "Your Majesty? Is he the person who did all those things? Once we enter the mythical palace, I will find an opportunity to kill him," Hazel Banks said after seeing Faye's reaction. "It is better for me to take care of it on my own. It is about time. We don't need to wait for Arthur. We can enter now." After seeing that most of the masters around them entered the light gates, they chose one and dashed in. The so-called mythical gate were short-distance teleportation arrays. They were able to send people from one side of the invisible energy barrier to the other. Faye felt like he was going through the portal, and he was now on the other side after a second. As they appeared among the mermaid-like creatures, Faye instantly opened up his silver light sphere. Even though those mermaid-like creatures couldn't break through the sphere, they continued to scream and smash their bodies against it. It seems like these creatures don't have intelligence. They couldn't even be counted as demon beasts. They only have the killing instinct on their minds? Faye frowned and thought as he watched these creatures commit suicide by slamming onto his energy sphere. The viciousness of the mermaid-like creatures was shocking. It seemed like they were driven by their basic instincts and not intelligence. Faye waved his hand and led a small mermaid-like creature into the silver light sphere. Now he was finally able to get a better look at this creature. This thing was hideous. Its lower body looked just like a fish, and it had a ton of sticky black liquid on its scales. The 6 fins on its body were as sharp as knives, and its tail was full of bone spikes. Its upper body resembled a human as features like breasts and belly button could be vaguely seen. Its face was 80% similar to a human's, but a layer of thin white membrane covered its eyes, and it had a mouth full of nail-like sharp teeth. It looked very vicious. This creature that got seized by Faye was struggling to get free, but it was no match for Faye's insane force. However, even though this creature was captured, it opened its mouth and let out a sound wave that could kill 6-star warriors. Faye was disappointed after a period of observation. Just like the berserk metal-eating ants, the mermaid-like creatures only had the killing instinct. There was no way that they could be tamed. Faye observed the surroundings closely and identified some details that he didn't discover before. It seemed like these mermaid-like creatures occupied the areas 200 meters above the mythical palace, and they were hard stuck there. What kinds of food sources did this vicious species rely on to survive throughout the years? And why are they here? Anyone who is in this area is being attacked by them mercilessly. Faye thought. Ah, no. Help! A peak 9-star warrior was surrounded and attacked by the creatures, and they tore through his defense. In just a second, he got chewed up into pieces. Bloody scenes like this were taking place at multiple locations. The masters who were weaker and still wanted to try out their luck underestimated the danger hidden in this place. In less than 10 minutes, more than 39-star warriors were eaten by the mermaid-like creatures at the bottom of the ocean. The nose-piercing blood and the dismembered body parts of the masters flowed in the water, and they irritated the creatures even more. Faye felt terrible for the masters who were getting massacred beside him. The king expanded his silver light sphere like a balloon, and the human masters who were about to die were all protected by it. A few 9-star warriors who got their warrior energy flames broke apart already closed their eyes to wait for their deaths. But the intense pain they anticipated didn't come. When they opened their eyes again, they realized that they were inside the silver light sphere, and the mermaid-like creatures could only slam their bodies against the light sphere, but couldn't break through. It is the king of Chambord. He saved us. The masters who got saved quickly understood the situation, and they were now scared since the death has passed them. It was a normal psychological reaction. However, after they looked at Faye, they realized that this king who just got into power wasn't that vicious and ruthless at all. They felt an unprecedented sense of security, and they looked at Faye with admiration in their eyes. Soon, the diameter of Faye's silver light sphere increased to 20 meters, but Faye still looked comfortable. In the end, he decided to travel and inspect the area, and he saved the masters who were in danger when he could. After 10 minutes, there were more than 30 people inside Faye's silver light sphere, and they were almost out of the attack range of the mermaid-like creatures. Suddenly, Faye sensed another powerful invisible energy barrier that protected the structures at the bottom of the ocean, and there were also 20 arched gates. Faye suddenly realized something. It seemed like the mermaid-like creatures were sandwiched in between the two invisible energy barriers, so they couldn't go up or down and could only stay in this part of the ocean that was about 100 meters deep like fishes in a fish tank. Although they only had 100 meters of vertical space, the horizontal space seemed limitless. There was enough room for all these terrifying creatures. After passing through another gate, the scene in front of Faye changed again. The water pressure and the mermaid-like creatures were gone, and he opened his mouth and was able to breathe in fresh air. It gave him the illusion that he was back on land again. Faye took a look, and he could only see endless ancient stone structures. The light yellow color of the stones indicated their ages, and their surfaces were rough. It seemed like Faye and this group of people landed in a plaza as huge shrines that were more than 50 meters tall were all around it. There wasn't any water in here since another layer of invisible energy barrier blocked the cold sea water out. Silver lights shone on the buildings, and they lit up everything within 10 meters of them. The architectural design of the structures was terrific, and it felt like only the gods could create something like this. How much power does it require to block the entire ocean from the bottom? It is insane, they thought. On the edge of the square, huge stone pillars lifted the roofs of the shrines. The entrances of the shrines were dark, and each of them looked like a huge demon beast with its bloody mouth wide open. Not too far away, there were multiple giant statues. There were statues of almost every species. There were beasts with 6 wings on its back, half-human half-snake sea creatures with 6 blades in its 6 arms, humans with horns on their forehead, and etc. These statues all looked real, and there seemed to be powerful life energies in them. If someone just took a peek at them, they would feel like these statues were indeed living beings. This was a mysterious location. This was the legendary mythical palace that was filled with dangers and opportunities. "Thank you, Your Majesty." That young 9-star warrior who got saved by Faye quickly saluted and thanked Faye. He was about to be eaten by the mermaid-like creatures, and he was saved at the brink of death. He shouted, "My name is Louis, and I'm one of the Saint Star warriors from the Saint Germain Empire. I will be forever in your debt. If Your Majesty has the chance to come to the St. Germain, I will for sure provide you with all the necessary privileges that I could." This young man looked righteous, and his long blonde hair, handsome face, and upright temperament all told people that his identity was majestic and noble. He was only about 25 years old, and he was already a 9-star warrior. He might be from the royal family. However, no one knew why he came here alone without guards. He almost died in the mouths of the mermaid-like creatures. Mr. Lewis, don't mind it. Faye smiled and didn't want to take the credit. This move instantly made a lot of people admire him. I'm Mengo from the Marseille Empire, and I won't forget how you saved my life. If your majesty needs anything, just send someone to the mayor's mansion of Province City in the Marseille Empire with this badge, and I, Mengo, would be willing to fight for you. Another tough-looking man said as he handed Faye a blue family badge, and he then left and went on the exploration alone afterward. I'm a no-name warrior. Thank you for saving my life. As long as your majesty need me, Daika, is willing to fight for you. We three brothers would never forget. The kindness of your majesty is unprecedented. As long as the two of us can leave the mythical palace alive, we would be willing to complete 3 tasks for you unconditionally. Faye had saved more than 30 people from the mermaid-like creatures. Although these people were caught off guard by these creatures, they were all powerful and influential figures outside of this mythical palace. Some of them instantly showed their gratitude and thanked the king, stating that they would be willing to help the king out if he was ever in need. Faye didn't act haughtily and smiled back at them. He knew that not everyone was going to thank him, but who knows what would happen in the future. No one knew if this random act of kindness would result in anything significant in the future. Undead Mage Hazelbank liked what Faye did. Although he was powerful and dominating before, he had fallen for an extended period of time, and he wasn't as arrogant and self-centered like those other lords. He knew the importance of friends, and he was in favor of what the king was doing. However, not everyone was thankful. Among these people, some of them just said thanks and left. They didn't even tell Faye their names. There were worse people. Some of them didn't even say thanks. As soon as they saw that they were safely inside the mythical palace, they glanced around in greed and quickly left without saying anything. These people wanted to discover treasures and secrets that other people didn't find before. Faye only shook his head and didn't say anything. Soon, all of the people who were saved by Faye left on their own and disappeared into the streets made of yellow stones. They were here for different purposes, so they won't gather up and explore together. The mythical palace was enormous. It looked limitless, as if it was a world of its own. The invisible energy barrier on top of the mythical palace gave off a slight light, and it looked like the moon had lit this place up. The structures in this place looked like the palaces of the gods. Their style was completely different from the structures in the outside world, as they looked ancient. Although there were more than 400 masters who had entered this place, it is nothing since the mythical palace was so big. Let's go! Faye walked towards the center of the mythical palace, and Hazelbank followed behind him. Even though this place looked calm and safe, they were both highly aware, as no one knew what kind of danger was waiting for them. After they walked to the east of the plaza for about 500 meters, Faye suddenly saw a statue that had a human face and a beast body. It was at least 40 meters tall. After Faye focused on it, he suddenly saw a figure standing beside it. This man was one of the few who got saved by Faye but left without thanking him. Now, there wasn't even the slightest bit of life energy on him. He was dead. Faye walked close to this man and observed the situation. He discovered that this man still had a smile on his lifeless face, and this man's eyes were still wide open. His hand was reaching out, and it felt like he was staring at this statue as if he discovered some treasure. However, all of his life energy and warrior energy were gone. After Faye lightly touched his body, it turned into a cloud of dust. Then, more than a dozen silver light dots flew out of the cloud of dust and got sucked into the statue. This man's strength is not enough, and he got his essence sucked away by this martial statue, Hazelbank said as he followed up. Martial statue? Faye asked. Yeah. The statue in front of us is a martial statue. It is special. If a master is lucky enough, he or she would be able to communicate with the statue using the spirit energy. Each of the statues contains a moon-class technique. It was heard that the powerful and influential figures made these statues in ancient times. This was a great way for their descendants to learn their techniques. However, the techniques in here are only useful for moon-class elites. That is why almost no sun-class lords would show up here. Hazelbank knew a lot about this place, and he explained it to Faye patiently. I see. Faye thought as he reached out to the statue using his spirit energy. He was a lot more powerful than the previous master, and he wasn't afraid of the backlash. As soon as his spirit energy touched the statue, he felt a strong suction. He felt like his mind got pulled into a gray space, and the technique called Vicious Beast Fist appeared in his head. Faye looked it over and shook his head. Too bad that this Vicious Beast Fist is not fit for a human to cultivate, and its power is average. It is too inferior compared with my invincible Emperor Fist, he thought. Faye's learning ability was great, and he almost instantly grasped the concept of this technique. Soon, he realized that it was more fit for orcs to use. Too bad that orcs were extinct on this continent now, and this technique was pretty much useless. Only the human statues contain techniques that could be used by humans. The techniques contained in other statues aren't fit for human cultivation, Hazelbank explained. Also, the bigger the statue, the more powerful the techniques. Of course, the potential backlash is more terrifying as well. If your majesty is interested, I do remember a few good martial statues. Whatever. My goal is to find the mythical altar. The mythical gate would only be open for less than 10 days, and I don't have time to collect all these techniques. Besides, my current fist technique is not inferior to the techniques documented here. Faye shook his head and said, "Let's separate here and search. That way, we would have the highest chance of finding the mythical altar. If we do, we could contact each other using the prearranged method." "Okay, please be careful, Your Majesty. I will go look for the altar in the west," Hazelbank said before disappearing. Even Faye still couldn't see how this man went away. The undead mage's level was really high. Faye jumped onto a shrine that was more than 40 meters tall, and he took a good look at the surrounding structures. The structures in the area were of various sizes, but he couldn't see the mythical altar that was supposed to be very tall. He jumped back onto the street and spread out his spirit energy. After locating the center of the mythical palace, he dashed towards that direction. After spending some time in here, Faye was sure that the mysterious map Abramovich gave him in the 5th chest was the map of this place. He saw all of the key structures recorded on the map as he moved around. Faye had memorized the map, especially a path indicated in green. He was currently traveling according to this trail, and he didn't encounter any danger. There were a few small magic traps on the way, but he was able to dodge them since his spirit energy sensed their existence. In less than 10 minutes, Faye already moved forward for more than 3 kilometers. He had already seen some masters standing in front of martial statues, trying to obtain the techniques contained in them, and he had also seen some masters who had entered dangerous magic arrays voluntarily to give themselves pressure and tried to advance to higher levels. Also, there were bloody corpses of masters lying on the ground. This was indeed a dangerous place. After seeing Faye, who was almost sprinting towards the center of the mythical palace, a lot of masters were surprised. Dangers were everywhere in this place, and even peak full moon elites couldn't fly in the air and could only walk due to the mysterious power restrictions in this place. As a result, not a lot of people dared to move at high speed. If they triggered a powerful magic trap, they would die for sure. Is that the king of Chambord? So fast. Doesn't he know that it is very dangerous in here? Humph! It is even more dangerous deeper into the mythical palace. There are a ton of undiscovered magic traps and murderous arrays. Even Sun-class lords have to be careful. This king of Chambord is too arrogant. Does he want to die? Hee. It would be good if he dies. Once he is dead, we can just search his body. I'm sure that he has a lot of good stuff. The masters in the area saw Faye dashing by, and they all had different reactions. Some of them raised their voices to warn Faye about the dangers. Some of them sneered with envy, and some of them wanted to see him in trouble. They had their own plans, and they went back to whatever they were doing after Faye passed by them. Faye stopped in front of a martial statue that was in the shape of a human warrior and was more than 90 meters tall. This must be the number 1 martial statue shown on the map, Faye thought. There were a total of 36 martial statues on the secret map, and they were numbered from 1 to 36, where the number 36 martial statue was the deepest in the mythical palace. Each martial statue represented a region, and each region would get more dangerous as it got deeper in. What technique does this martial statue contain? Fei thought as he used his spirit energy to touch this magnificent statue. After he closed his eyes and sensed it for a while, he opened his eyes and murmured in satisfaction. So this is lightning crackling fist. A new moon technique. I can teach it to Uncle Lampard. It is a lightning elemental technique. Since Fei had been practicing the techniques recorded on the purple scroll, his spirit energy was now extremely strong. Compared with other masters who required half a day or more to get a technique from one martial statue. Successfully, Fei only needed about 10 seconds. It was unheard of. After Fei inherited the technique from the number 1 martial statue and was about to proceed forward, a series of quiet and chilly laughter sounded. Like a ghost, a dash of vicious energy shot at Fei's heart from the back without making a sound. It was a sneak attack. Die! Fei roared as if he already detected this. He turned around confidently and punched out. Boom! His fist moved faster and collided with the palm that was coming at him. A series of explosions sounded, and a few bone-crackling noises appeared next. Then, a light gasp echoed, and a few drops of blood landed on the ground. Afterward, the arm that appeared out of nowhere was nowhere to be seen again. The attacker was capable of a great stealth technique. No wonder he was able to get so close to Fei. However, Fei's spirit energy was already spread out in the area, and any movement within 500 meters of him would be detected. Right now, he was able to tell that the assassin was slowly moving away from him. Haha! Want to escape now? Too late. How dare you attack me? You need to pay the price. Fei, who had been silent, sneered and dashed in a direction. As he opened his hand, he grasped at a direction forcefully. Whoosh! A series of ripples appeared in the air. It felt like Fei's hand had cracked the space around him, and he pulled a man who was dressed in a tight black bodysuit out of nowhere. This man was small and his eyes were tiny. He looked just like an assassin. You! Impossible! How did you discover me? The assassin asked as he was shocked. He couldn't believe what was happening. At the moment, he was being lifted by the neck as if he was a chicken that was being pulled up by a farmer. His level 4 low-tier new moon strength was locked down by Fei completely. He couldn't get away at all. Who are you? Why are you attacking me? Fei asked in a cold tone as he stared at this assassin. Ha ha ha. I won't tell you. Alexander, you are dead. Even if you kill me, you will still be dead. You don't even know how many people are after your secrets. I'm just a little henchman. Haha. If you let me go, I will tell you who they are. The assassin calmed down and replied as a sense of viciousness flashed by his face. The secret's on me? If you want it, you need to prepare to be killed. Since you are not willing to tell me, then die. Fei lost his patience. Since this assassin's eyes were rolling when he replied, Fei knew that this man was planning some tricks. Boom! Fei lightly squeezed his hand, and the assassin suddenly stopped laughing. He was instantly turned into a cloud of blood mist, and the street and the structures nearby were all dyed red. Tink! A bracelet-like item fell onto the ground. It had a faint yellow light on it. Fei looked at it and realized something. As he waved his hand, this bracelet flew into his palm. Interesting. No wonder. I thought he had a special stealth technique, but it turned out that he used this bracelet to achieve the stealth state. Although it couldn't block the spirit energy of masters, it is enough to hide from regular masters. Fei observed this light yellow bracelet and identified the magic engravings on it. This bracelet was a good magic item that would allow the user to go into stealth for a period of time. Going into stealth was a very interesting ability. Among the 7 characters Fei had in Diablo World, the assassin character could achieve something close to this. However, even though the assassin character was good at hiding and eliminating his aura, Fei still couldn't reach 100% invisibility. After some thought, Fei put this bracelet into his storage space. Perhaps the 2 mad scientists could decode the magic engravings and arrays on this bracelet. Maybe there are some surprises, Fei thought. After Fei disappeared, 5 people who were wearing similar tight black bodysuits appeared on top of a shrine that was close to the number 1 martial statue. Tech got killed. What a loser. He didn't even injure the king of Shambord a little. Also, he wasted an unreal bracelet. A man in black who was also thin and small murmured as he looked at the blood not too far away as a vicious expression appeared on his face. At least he proved one thing. It seems like unreal bracelets don't work on the King of Shambord. When making moves next time, don't rely on unreal bracelets too much. Another man in black suggested after a moment of silence. You are right. This King of Shambord is getting more powerful by the second. If our master isn't interested in his rapid cultivation speed, I won't try to provoke a man like him. The man in black who was standing in the front of the group murmured. What? Even the infamous demon moon assassin Cust is afraid? The King of Shambord? He is only a little hillbilly who hasn't even left the territory of Zenith yet. Even if he is a talented genius, he is like a piglet before he fully matures. Isn't killing a piglet easy? The man in black who spoke first mocked. It is not that simple. I feel like there is a terrifying energy hidden in his body. Let's all be careful. Even if we succeed, let's not leave any traces behind. Currently, he is still under the watch of Yasin, and we don't want to trigger this emperor. The King of Shambord is currently in the level 2 region of the mythical palace. Let's follow up and attack when the opportunity is right. We shouldn't scare him as that would only increase his guard. The man who looked like the leader of the group made the decision, and he jumped off of the shrine and followed Faye's footsteps. The other 4 men in black also jumped off of the roof of the shrine and disappeared like ghosts. It was obvious that they were all wearing unreal bracelets. Bam! A stream of water jetted into the sky from a water well in Dual Flag City. An embarrassed figure hopped out and landed on the ground. This man was soaked, his face was pale, and half of his arm disappeared with the white arm bone somewhat visible. He was the King of Black Sand who got severely injured by Faye. Since he was so injured, he could no longer penetrate through the 400-meter thick ground to get out. Therefore, he had to wander around in the water and finally found a water well. If he wasn't able to find the exit soon, he might become the first Moon-class elite who drowned in water. The King of Black Sand sat down beside the water well weakly as he breathed in fresh air, looked at the sun, and felt scared. For a long time, he had been dominating over the region. He had never been shamed like this before. It has always been him who was the bully, but he was injured so severely this time. He was scared and mad at the same time. I was lucky to escape in time. Otherwise, I would be dead by now. The King of Black Sand thought with resentment. After he calmed down a little and used his warrior energy to suppress the injuries, he felt better and instantly dashed into the sky above Dual Flag City. As he looked down at the lively city below him, a vicious thought appeared in his mind. Enraged, he murmured to himself, I heard that the King of Shambord is the guardian of this city. I will destroy this city that he protects first to slap his face. Then, I will redeem myself by killing him after I recover. As he thought about that, he waved his hand, and a vast energy surge started to appear. Although he was severely injured, the energy a Moon-class elite could pull was still a lot. Since Moon-class elites could somewhat see the natural laws of this world, they were able to move and use the natural elemental energy in the air. The King of Black Sand hated Faye to death, and he was willing to risk getting a backlash and wanted to destroy a part of Dual Flag City to vent his anger. The powerful energy surge in the sky instantly attracted the attention of the soldiers and masters in the city. Who is it? Such power! Who dares to attack Dual Flag City? Quick! Report to King Alexander. This man could stand in mid-air. He is already a Moon-class elite. Only His Majesty could deal with him. After sensing the hostility from the powerful figure in mid-air, all the commanders in Dual Flag City were shocked. Only the top-tier decision-makers in the city knew that Faye was gone right now. Is this a coincidence? A Moon-class elite appeared after His Majesty is gone? This is too dangerous. If something goes wrong, the city would be destroyed, and the residents would be killed. They thought. Who are you? Why are you here in our Dual Flag City? Leave immediately, Rybri shouted in the watchtower on the west gate using his warrior energy. Bugs! Die! A chilly voice filled with murderous intent sounded. Although this response wasn't loud, It was like a hammer that struck everyone at Dual Flag City. After this man expressed his hostility, the warriors of Chambord who were guarding the mayor's mansion reacted first. Lampard, who was the #1 master in Dual Flag City, right now jumped onto the roof of the mayor's mansion and got ready to protect Angela and Elena. These two girls were the most important people to Faye, and he had to guard them with his life. The king of Black Sand sneered in midair and looked at the city that was now in chaos. He enjoyed the pleasure that came from dominating over other people. The only thing that worried him was that Emperor Yasin built this city. The anger of Emperor Yasin wasn't something that should be joked with. However, after he thought back to all the rumors that were passed around, he calmed down. Emperor Yasin is about to die. He couldn't do anything to me, he thought. Ha ha ha. Struggle. Be desperate. If you want to blame someone, blame that idiot King Alexander of yours. If he didn't offend me like a dumbass, you guys might be able to survive like homeless dogs. Ha 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 ha. The king of Black Sand, who felt like he got the control of everything back, was experiencing a sick pleasure. At this moment, a voice sounded, "Hey, triangle face. Is your act over? Is it fun to laugh like an idiot?" This childlike voice sounded so sudden and so abrupt that the king of Black Sand didn't even react fast enough. He thought it was one of his henchmen. Ha ha. I have control over their lives. It is entertaining to see them kneel and beg for their lives, he said. Suddenly, he realized that something was off. When he turned around immediately, he saw a cute boy who had long blonde hair and was wearing a set of black armor and a strange cat-like mask. From the initial impression, he felt like this boy was as naive as a kitten. "It's you." The king of Black Sand shivered at the sight of this boy. He recognized this boy. This boy was one of the two people who stood by the king of Chambord. Since this boy was a lot smaller than other masters and had beautiful long blonde hair, it was hard to forget about him. This little guy is qualified to stand beside that king of Chambord, and he is now able to appear beside me quietly. It is clear that he is powerful, the king of Black Sand thought. He was experienced enough not to underestimate Arthur. "Uncle, do you know me? I can't find my mom and dad. Do you know where they are?" Arthur said as he dashed at the king of Black Sand with a big bright smile on his face. As he opened up his arms, he said with his sweet voice, "Uncle, hug me." Arthur is scared. "Damn kid. Get away." The king of Black Sand won't be fooled. Anyone who could stand beside the king of Chambord won't be weak. However, since this cute and innocent-looking boy was dashing at him, he didn't strike out using full force subconsciously. After all, Arthur was way too sweet, and it definitely affected the king of Black Sand's judgment. "No. Uncle, hug me," Arthur said as he continued to dash at the king of Black Sand. "You want to die. You." Puff. Just in that split second, Arthur got close to the king of Black Sand. This man successfully struck Arthur's chest, but the scene where Arthur's chest exploded didn't occur. Instead, he felt like his palm hit an iron plate that was empowered by magic arrays, and his palm was hurting a little. Then, he suddenly felt like his chest turned cold as if something left his body. Out of shock, he looked down and saw that this boy's soft and pink hand had easily penetrated his chest that was strengthened by his warrior energy. When he turned his head around, he saw black bone claws extending out of his back with his heart in them. The 3 bone claws were reflecting a chilling light, and they were as sharp as a blade. Cough. Ha. You are not human. You are an undead creature. Undead bone. Undead bone dragon. You, the king of Chambord. He dares to befriend undead. The fear of death and the desire to live conquered this man's mind. As the shadow of death enveloped him, he begged as he looked at Arthur with a harmless smile. "No. Please forgive me. Please show some mercy." Even though the Moon-class elites had strong vitality, they would still die if their hearts got crushed. "Sorry, I have no empathy for you," Arthur said with a bright smile on his face. But the king of Black Sand felt like he saw the smile of the Grim Reaper. As this undead bone dragon crushed the king of Black Sand's heart with his claws, he shook his head and said, You have said that it is interesting to see poor bugs beg for their lives in front of you. I think you are right. After seeing you beg, my mood got a lot better. Bam! After Arthur shook his hand, the king of Black Sand's body exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist before disappearing. In the next moment, Arthur's claws turned back to the pink hand of a child. Since the branch of the Holy Church inside Dual Flag City was directly below him, Arthur almost only used his sharp and god-tier combat weapon like bones to kill the king of Black Sand. He didn't dare to use his undead energy. After turning back to his childlike form, no one would believe that this boy, who even the saintess would find cute, had just killed a moon-class elite. Arthur licked his lips proudly, and he thought of something and announced, I just killed this vicious intruder with the order from the King of Chambord. King Alexander His Majesty is protecting this city. Anyone who dares to challenge His Majesty would need to bear the consequences. His voice echoed in the sky, and everyone in Dual Flag City heard it. The residents who were so anxious before all cheered. They had witnessed the entire process themselves. Although they didn't know how that evil intruder got killed, they knew that the danger was gone. This boy is a subordinate of King Alexander His Majesty, people thought. After this incident, Faye's fame and influence in the city climbed to a peak. Alexander should be pleased this time. He might even give me a few bottles of wine as a reward. Ha ha ha. As tens of thousands of people in the city chanted King Alexander's name, this undead bone dragon who had the mind of a child disappeared in the sky as he dreamed of Faye's wines. After entering the level 2 region of the mythical palace, Faye instantly sensed the increased pressure. He felt like the air was denser and the gravity was stronger. It was harder to walk in here, and every single movement would consume twice the usual effort. It was good that the barbarian character had a ton of strength. The increased pressure didn't cause too much problem for Faye. After he got used to the environment, he moved faster and faster. There wasn't much time, and Faye had to find the mythical altar to cleanse the stained world stone. If he could found it, he would have time to explore this mysterious space. However, if he couldn't find the mythical altar and lost Angela and Elena, he would never forgive himself. The level 2 region was more dangerous. Faye would frequently hear loud explosions and shocking roars. It seemed like some masters encountered something terrifying as the energy surges that were coming from afar scared Faye a little. After 30 minutes, Faye saw another colossal warrior statue in a cross street. This statue was holding a huge sword and a large shield, and it looked like a warrior who was waiting for the enemies to charge at him. Just the presence of this statue brought Faye a lot more pressure. It will be the level 3 region after this? Faye paused for a second and thought, what technique does it contain? As he thought about that, he closed his eyes and used his spirit energy. Faye opened his eyes after a minute. Kowtow of the Reaper? Such a strange name, but it is a good technique. Cancer Saint Oleg is missing a set of powerful technique, so I will give this to him. Faye smiled and thought. So far, he had gotten some good rewards. After Faye obtained the miraculous skill Learn, his understandings of cultivation, battles, and techniques were on another level. He was able to skim through martial statues, easily as if he was shopping with his eyes, and no time was wasted. As soon as he got this technique, he entered the level 3 region. Just like Faye had expected, there was more pressure and stronger gravity in the level 3 region. If an ordinary person appeared in there, his or her bones would be crushed, and the blood vessels in their bodies would pop open. Only powerful masters could survive in here. Every time Faye went to a higher-leveled region, the magic traps and killing mechanisms would get deadlier. The magic traps and killing mechanisms in the level 1 region were dangerous to 7-star or 8-star masters. But the ones in the level 3 region could threaten peak 9-star masters and low-tier New Moon elites. Fortunately, Faye had the help from that mysterious map, and he didn't trigger any magic traps or killing mechanisms. The King of Chambord entered the level 5 region. Such speed! He didn't trigger anything on the way. He must have a map. After another hour, the 5 assassins who were dressed in tight-fit black bodysuits appeared by the number 5 warrior martial statue. That small and murderous assassin was playing with a small yet sharp knife, and it felt like this blade was a small fish that was flowing between his fingers. As he looked at Fei, who disappeared into afar, he sneered and said, "The mythical palace had been explored for many years, except for regions from level 30 to level 36. All maps for level 1 to level 29 are out there. Don't we also have a map that recorded everything from the level 1 region to the level 20 region? Captain Moto, are you done observing? You guys are scared of him, but I'm not. Just to let you guys know, I will be assassinating him myself next time. When I do kill him, don't try to steal the credit from me in from of our master. Hee, the treasures on him would also belong to me." Most of his peers were displeased with what this assassin had to say, but Captain Moto didn't get mad. After a while of thinking, he nodded and said, "Okay, Dylanko. When the king of Shambord starts to reach out to the number 6 warrior martial statue and tries to get the technique from it, you can try to assassinate him. If you succeed, I won't let anyone take your credit." "Really?" This assassin named Dylanko was excited. He looked around and sneered. "Make sure you think it through so you all won't break this deal when you see his treasures. If I kill him, all of his treasures are mine. Haha. I can promise you as the captain of this team." Moto promised. "Ha ha ha. Great. I will go and kill him right now. I will prove to Master that I'm his best subordinate." Hee. As Dylanko laughed coldly, his body slowly disappeared as if he dissolved into the air. "Captain, you?" After Dylanko disappeared, one of the assassins couldn't hold back anymore and tried to express his viewpoint. Captain Moto waved his hand, and an unprecedented chilly light appeared in his eyes. He said, "I know what you want to say. Don't worry. Dylanko couldn't kill the king of Shambord. Hee. Since he wants to die, we can use his life to check how powerful this king of Shambord really is." 30 minutes later, Fei arrived at the number 6 warrior martial statue. He had gotten some useful techniques from the first 5 martial statues. They were just what Shambord, that had no accumulation of resources, needed at the time. Once the warriors of Shambord advanced to moon class, they could cultivate these techniques. What technique is stored in this statue? Fei was curious. The deeper he was in the mythical palace, the better the techniques he got. Of course, the amount of spirit energy needed and the power of potential backlashes increased a lot as well. If he didn't have a firm foundation, his life energy and soul would be sucked away by this statue easily, and his body would turn into dust just like that ungrateful man he saw at the beginning. After his spirit energy entered this statue, Fei frowned. The suction force from this number 6 warrior martial statue was several times greater than the previous 5 martial statues added together. If Fei's spirit energy wasn't strong, he could have gotten killed. Huh? Sky-tearing scar? An arrow and shooting technique? It looks like Tora's got lucky. Ha. After Fei was pleased with this finding and was about to enter the next region, he suddenly sensed something and turned around with a frowning expression. He looked at an empty space that was about 10 meters away from him and said coldly, "Come out. Let me see who had been following me for the last hour. How ugly are you? You have to hide for that long." Mocking laughter sounded, and a thin figure in black slowly appeared at where Fei was looking. This man in black was Dylanko, the assassin. At the moment, his knife was still flowing between his fingers as he played with it, and it seemed like this man was really confident and relaxed. "The king of Shambord, just kill yourself now," Dylanko said as he approached Fei and licked his lips. A cold smile appeared on Fei's face as he replied, "Why do I need to commit suicide? It would be more comfortable for you to die that way. If I have to kill you myself, I will slit your throat first. Before you lose your conscience and completely die off, I will open a split on your head and let you witness how I skin you from your head to your toes. Ha. You will experience the worst pain in your life. I can promise you that you will regret it. Isn't that terrifying? What is your decision?" Dylanko stopped playing with his blade and asked Fei as sick and nasty lights appeared in his eyes. "Who sent you? Why are you here?" Fei asked. He didn't show any signs of emotion. Since the assassins who were after him were powerful and dressed in the same way, it was clear that they were conspiring against him, and Fei wanted to get some information. Why does a dead man need to know that much? If you can tell me how your strength increased so much in a short time and hand over your treasures, I can consider the option of letting you have an easier death, Dylanko replied. Although he was arrogant, he was still a professional assassin and would keep the critical information confidential. So, someone wants to know my secret around cultivation? Faye understood. It looks like my insane growth speed is attracting others' attention. Who is this person? He or she is able to command moon-class elites to assassinate me. Damn. This person might be even more influential than some emperors. You want to trick me into spilling the beans? Haha. Impossible. You will know after you are dead. Dylanko approached his prey and said casually. When he was less than 4 meters away from Faye, he started to unleash his chilly and vicious aura. The murderous spirit rushed out of his body and dashed at Faye, and it left deep scratch marks on the ground and the structures around them as if blades combed through everything. Since this is the case, then tell me everything you know. I will let you die easier. Faye laughed. He had been through too many situations and battles in Diablo world, and his mental fortitude was beyond anyone's imagination. The murderous spirit this assassin was proud of was nothing in Faye's eyes. After Faye mocked this assassin, he stepped forward and unleashed the aura of his own. Instantly, the lights in the area dimmed, and a faint red color dispersed into the area. It was breathtaking, and this assassin was completely enveloped by it. How come you have such a strong murderous spirit? Dylanko asked as his body froze. He had an ominous feeling about this as the danger he was sensing was going through the roof. With his eyes wide open, he felt like he miscalculated something. I have killed too many shady people like you. I even lost count. Faye replied. Before his opponent could respond, he stepped forward and moved towards this assassin as he punched out with a fist enveloped by silver energy flame. Invincible Emperor Fist. Dylanko was shocked by this technique, and he unleashed his wind elemental warrior energy. He instantly went into his peak state, and he raised his arms to block the attack as he got ready to back off. Crack. The pain he sensed stunned him. It was a surprise to him that his arms were easily destroyed by the King of Shambord's weak-looking punch. Crack. After that merciless fist broke Dylanko's arms, it followed up and struck his chest. Same as before, Dylanko's warrior energy couldn't protect him against Faye's fist. As a result, this vicious assassin's chest concaved in, and it soon got penetrated. No! You aren't a level 1 low-tier New Moon elite. You are already a mid-tier New Moon elite. Dylanko backed off as he shouted with blood spurting out of his mouth. Now, he realized what kind of a mistake he made. But how could a New Moon class elite who advanced 3 days ago be a mid-tier New Moon elite? This assassin thought to himself. However, he would never know. You realized now? Faye looked at this assassin who was about to die and pitted. A trash like you shouldn't even be called an assassin. You are stupid, arrogant, conceited, blind. You possess all the weaknesses that shouldn't be seen on an assassin. You don't even have all the information on me. Trying to assassinate me with a lack of information is no different to committing suicide. You must have other co-conspirators, right? I think you probably offended them, and they sent you here to die. In the meantime, they could also try to observe my real strength. How do you know? Dylanko was so shocked that his eyes opened wide. Faye's words finally made him realize why Captain Moto allowed him to come here and assassinate Faye and promised not to take his credit. They knew that I couldn't kill the King of Shambord. Just like Tech who got killed before, I'm just being used. He thought regretfully. You told me yourself, Faye replied with a smile on his face. You devil. You? Dylanko stuttered as he looked at Faye and shivered in fear. He realized that his simple response gave away a ton of information, and he also realized that he was like a clown in the King of Shambord's eyes. He was scared and mad at the same time since he felt like this young man played him. So he dug out a small black bottle from his pocket using his right arm that was still intact, and he laughed crazily. Die! Let's die together. Ha ha ha. Don't you think it is too late? You aren't a good assassin, Faye replied and suddenly appeared in front of Dylanko. He instantly stole the black bottle. and he used his energy to pull up Dylanko's blade that fell to the ground. After he grabbed onto the blade, he nailed it into this assassin's head. A professional assassin should never let go of his or her weapon. You are too weak. Let me return the blade to you, Faye said. Bam! Dylanko's corpse fell onto the ground and lied in a pool of his own blood. Faye wiped his hands clean and placed that black bottle into his storage space. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked at the direction of a stone shrine. He asked, "You should know my strength now after a while of observation, right? Huh? Aren't the four of you going to attack?" The silence was the only response. Not going to show yourselves? You guys dare to follow me but don't dare to show yourselves? Why? Are we playing a game of hide and seek? Faye laughed and shrugged his shoulders. Since you guys aren't going to show yourself, I will be leaving then. After he said that, the king looked at the direction of the next region and walked towards it. However, Faye suddenly turned around and punched out after taking 3 steps. Invincible Emperor Fist. The silver fist mark that was about half a meter in each dimension flew towards that shrine like a meteor. Boom! That stone shrine and the ground shook violently. A piece of enormous stone got knocked away, and a few figures in black appeared. However, they didn't fight with Faye. As soon as they were discovered, they disappeared again, and their auras left the area at a fast speed. Retreating after the first attempt failed. These few are more like professional assassins, Faye thought. He didn't chase after them for 2 reasons. First of all, they were all level 3 low-tier New Moon elites, and it was hard to catch up with them if they tried hard to escape and utilize the complex structures in the mythical palace. Second of all, Faye didn't have time to waste on this matter. According to Hazel Bank's estimation, even if the mythical altar exists, it would be closer to the core region. It is tough to get in there. Even Sun-class lords might fail and die. My only hope is this map. This green path better be 100% safe and lead me to the core region to find the mythical altar. He thought, however, it is a pain in the butt to be followed by these mice. I need to take care of them sooner or later. Huh? Arthur should be done, right? He could take care of the issue easily. After thinking about that, Faye took out a silver scroll that was about 10 centimeters long and about a thumb thick. He injected some energy into it and opened it up. After a light buzzing noise, a small teleportation portal appeared. Compared with the portal created by Town Portal Scroll, this portal was about half the size, and its color was silver instead of blue. It was a short-distance portal scroll, a new item that Akira and Kane created after combining the spatial portal theories they learned from Faye and the magic theories behind the Town Portal Scroll. The limitations of this new scroll were that no living beings could be teleported through it, and the distance between the 2 locations had to be closer than 5 kilometers. These limitations made this type of scrolls less useful, and Faye only carried a few with him. A small foot first passed through the portal, then a boy appeared. It was undead bone dragon Arthur. Only a special creature like him who had no actual blood and flesh could bypass the limitations. Oh damn! I don't like the feeling of the portal. Arthur flipped his long blonde hair and complained as he stepped out of the portal. Alexander, why did you summon me? How was it? You mean that dumb triangle face? A sly expression that didn't fit his apparent age appeared on his face. He laughed. He died, of course. Didn't you tell me to kill him? I destroyed his heart. Then, boom, he turned into a cloud of blood mist. Haha, what do you think? It is beautiful, isn't it? I told you that I am good at killing. The undead bone dragon got excited when he told Faye about how he killed the king of Black Sand in detail. That bastard wanted to kill all the innocent residents in Dual Flag City to vent his anger? Damn. He deserves to die, Faye said and shook his head. The last bit of guilt on his mind disappeared. Then, he knocked Arthur, who was being proud, on the head and said, "It is fine that you killed him, but why do you have to tell everyone that I sent you? Are my trump cards not exposed enough? Low-key. We have to be low-key." However, the undead bone dragon saw through everything and refuted. Humph! Keep on acting. I already know that you like to show off. Didn't I satisfy your vanity? Quick, give me some wine. I'm too thirsty. Fei didn't know how to respond. After a moment of pause, he took out a few bottles of wine and passed them to Arthur. Afterward, he lowered his head and whispered into the undead bone dragon's ear. Upon hearing Fei's words, Arthur laughed. Ha ha ha! Good! Killing more people? Great! I love it! Trust me, their corpses won't even be seen. Hee. But you got to give me a bottle of wine for each person. Deal! Fei nodded and agreed. This king of Chambord is too terrifying. We all underestimated him. The four assassins gathered below a huge beast statue that was more than 1 kilometer away from where Fei and Arthur were. At the moment, they were looking at each other in fear. Even though only their eyes were exposed, the shock and the surprise could be clearly seen. When Fei easily killed Dylanko, they didn't find anything wrong with that. After all, Dylanko, the idiot, was so arrogant that he ditched his strength in assassination and attacked Fei head-on. The outcome was to be expected. However, the punch Fei threw at them after killing Dylanko shocked them. The stone structures in the mythical palace had been around for ages, and they didn't fall in the history of time. If these assassins struck these structures, they could only leave a tiny mark on them. However, Fei was able to destroy a portion of the shrine and almost demolished it. From this alone, the assassins knew that the king of Chambord's strength was beyond their estimations. They recalled the punch that the king used, and they felt like it contained the domination of a ruler. Their bodies shivered subconsciously when they saw the strike, and they felt tiny compared to it. They felt like they were ordinary citizens, and the king of Chambord was their lord. Looks like our intelligence report is wrong. The king of Chambord's strength is far beyond ours. What should we do? Should we cancel the mission and explain the situation to Master? Or should we follow him and try to wait for the perfect opportunity? Even if we wait, the chance of success would still be very low, the captain said to the other 3 team members earnestly. The other 3 assassins started to hesitate. They all had strong wills, but they were moved by what they saw. They didn't know what to do since the dominating presence of Fei's invincible emperor fist affected their judgment subtly. I think we should continue to follow him. After a few moments of silence, that assassin who was referred to as Demon Moon Assassin spoke. He was more powerful compared to his peers, and his reasoning and logic were also clear. After a brief moment of pause, he continued, Any master would have weaknesses. We are assassins and not warriors. We don't have to fight him directly. We are good at seizing the split-second opportunities and killing enemies in one strike. There are a lot of dangers in the mythical palace, and it seems like the king of Chambord is trying to find something. We could follow him and keep a safe distance. If he triggers some traps, we could just help him a little behind his back. He would be easily killed if we could utilize the existing dangers here. We don't have to be stronger than him to kill him. We just need to spot the opportunities. Oh, haha, great. Guys, you got to clap and praise him. Someone applauded and shouted as if he agreed with Demon Moon Assassin's point of view. However, the mockery and disdain weren't hidden in his voice. The 4 assassins were all shocked. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. They all back off for 4 to 5 steps, and they turned around and got ready for battle. They knew that this person wasn't one of them, and the fact that this person could appear beside them without getting spotted or sensed by them was terrifying. As soon as they saw this person, they were all stunned. Not sure when, but a blond boy who looked like he was 9 to 10 years old was sitting on the base of the statue. At the moment, he was wearing a set of black armor, had a bottle of wine in one of his hands, and was swinging his lower legs happily. As he smiled at them, he licked a drop of golden wine on his lips. It was too strange for them. Who are you? It is not ethical to listen to others' conversations, Captain Moto asked as he signaled his team members not to move. After all, the appearance of such a cute boy was too bizarre. Listen? I'm not here to listen to your conversations, the boy said as he patted the base of the statue that he was sitting on. With a naive smile on his face, he added, Who am I? Oh, I'm the person who is going to kill you. The tone of this young boy was very casual. If he said that he was here to bring them food with the same tone, it wouldn't sound weird. However, this reply was like a rumble of thunder in the 4 assassins' ears. A person who could get this close to them without them noticing was already scary enough. If this boy wanted to kill them, it would be more terrifying. After he handed all the errands to the undead bone dragon, Faye hurried towards the core region in the mythical palace. Currently, he was already in the level 11 region. The pressure in here was too powerful, and the air was too dense. The gravity alone could make a 3-star warrior not able to move. A terrifying amount of energy elements could be sensed from the two sides of the street, and it was clear that there were a ton of powerful magic traps everywhere. Faye tightly followed the path indicated on the map, and he was able to dodge all the potential dangers. Soon, he entered the level 12 region. Faye had encountered a few masters in these regions. The people who could enter regions level 8 or higher were the elite exploration forces. They were all at least level 8 low-tier New Moon elites. They all prepared well, and they were progressing at a slow speed. Except for a few unlucky ones who were trapped, the others all moved forward toward their destinations. The only thing was that their pace was way too slow compared with Faye's. Along the way, Faye had collected 12 Moon-class techniques from the various martial statues. Although they were useless to Faye, they were all great techniques that could be given to the Saint Seiyas of Chambord after some tailoring. After Faye entered the level 13 region, he heard a series of roars and explosion noises. Then, he sensed a ton of energy surges. Faye frowned and paused his steps. If he wasn't wrong, powerful masters were battling each other not too far away. After all, it didn't feel like a magic trap or a killing mechanism was triggered. The incident was occurring on Faye's path, but he dashed forward after a short pause. Boom! Who is it? This path is blocked. My master is dealing with some matters at the moment. Please turn around and go back. Suddenly, a dash of silver wind that was as sharp as a blade shot at Faye, and two men suddenly appeared. That voice came from the person who had an arrogant expression on his face. Faye, who was rushing forward, easily crushed that dash of wind. He paused and took a good look at these two. He realized that he didn't know anything about them. Both how they looked and how they dressed were new to Faye, and it was clear that they weren't from Jax nor Zenith. I'm only passing by. I'm not interested and won't participate in the battle. Faye told them the truth. He wanted to find the mythical altar as soon as he could, and he wasn't interested in the conflicts between other masters. Although this mythical palace would be combed by many masters every time the mythical gate opened, it was just too big. People would find treasures that weren't discovered by previous generations each time. However, as soon as treasures were found, bloody battles would occur. There were no rights nor entitlements in this place as killing and robbing happened everywhere. Only the most powerful masters could become the owners of the treasures. Even though Faye wanted peace, these two men didn't think that way. Fuck off. Shut up and disappear right now. The two men were way too arrogant. Faye's eyes opened wide as he was infuriated. However, he suppressed his anger. He didn't want to waste his time and energy in meaningless battles. He tried to explain patiently. I will repeat what I said. I won't interfere with whatever you are doing. I'm only passing by. Fuck off. You bastard. Did you hear me? Get the fuck out. Or I will have to kill you. Before Faye could finish, the man who was more than 2 meters tall roared impatiently and raised his hand. Another dash of sharp wind shot at Faye's face. Pia. Faye raised his hand and broke this wind. With a cold expression, he said slowly, Last time. Move. Yuck. Kid, are you blind? We are doing some important stuff right now. How dare you ask me to move? Who do you think you are? You know what, you don't need to go back. I will chop your head off and show others who might come here the consequences of disobeying my words. Let's kill him. This man laughed and signaled his friend to kill Faye together. These two men were only level 1 low-tier New Moon elites, and their foundations were weak. It was clear that they got to this level by using external forces such as elixirs. However, if one had to guess their power level from their arrogant attitude, he or she might say that they were peak full moon elites. Faye shook his head and didn't want to explain anything anymore. Whoosh! His body turned into a dash of lightning. He passed by those two like a shadow. Those two men didn't even catch Faye's shadow with their peripheral visions, let alone reacting in time. They felt like a strong wind blew by them, and many fists dashed at them like meteors. At this moment, Fei was already more than 60 meters behind them, and he continued to rush towards the core region of the mythical palace. Fei's strikes only came at those two men after he passed them, and the attacks were so fast that they were far beyond these two men's expectations. Bam! 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 The fist marks landed on them like raindrops in a storm, and they couldn't defend against the strikes at all. The cracking noises and the muffled beating sounds created a symphony. These two men were frozen in midair as the fist marks that Fei left behind continued to cave in parts of their bodies. Only after the 131 fist marks all landed on them, they finally fell onto the ground and collapsed. As they lied in pools of blood, they looked up with shock and fear in their eyes. Since the confrontation wasn't to the extreme, Fei didn't kill them and let them live. The battle that Fei sensed was happening 500 meters away. Fei looked up and saw two people fighting each other aggressively on a plaza that had a fountain. It was hard to spot these two people as they were moving really fast, and their yellow and blue warrior energy flames were burning vigorously. However, Fei could tell that they were either level 2 or level 3 mid-tier New Moon elites. On the two sides of the plaza, there were two groups of people waiting for the outcome of this battle. There were two groups of people standing on the sides of the plaza, and it seemed like they were waiting for the outcome of the battle. One group had about 8 people, and it seemed like those two men who tried to stop Fei were from this group as they dressed in a similar fashion. These people all surrounded a young man who was about 17 years old and looked arrogant, and these people looked vicious as if they were going to kill anyone who dared to mess with them. There were only 2 people in the other group. One of them looked like a guard. The tight-fit leather armor on this guard looked shiny, and there were magic energy surges around the armor, indicating that this armor wasn't just for looks. Also, the bulky muscles on his body almost broke the armor. In addition, he had a unique murderous sensation that only soldiers who had been through hundreds of battles could have. It seemed like this guard wasn't worried about the opponents on the other side. His attention was focused entirely on the person in front of him, as if this person was the only thing that mattered. The person who was being protected by him as a mid-aged man. This mid-aged man looked majestic, and he was in his 40s. His eyes were big, and his eyebrows were thick. However, he couldn't be considered handsome. He was not ugly at best. The eye-catching thing about him was his long blue hair. It was fluttering in the air like a rippling ocean. Even though he had no energy surge on him, there was a blue bead that was about the size of an egg rotating on the fingertips of his right hand. The bead was giving off a dazzling light, and this man had a mysterious and calculative presence. The combination was unique. Fei almost understood the situation instantly. Even though the strengths of these two groups of people were all powerful, he wasn't planning to slow down. Instead, he sped up and dashed forward. He didn't want to interact with these people, but he had to pass through them if he wanted to follow the safe path indicated on the map. Therefore, he made up his mind and rushed forward as a silver light sphere appeared around him. Like a dash of lightning, he rushed into the battle zone where those two masters were fighting. Since he had the experience with those two men by the entrance, he knew that words alone wouldn't be effective. Fei didn't want to waste more time and decided to rush through by force. Boom! As soon as Fei entered the battle zone, those two warriors reacted instinctively. Since they were unfamiliar with this intruder, they both cast their most powerful strike at Fei instantly. However, Fei was prepared. He punched out using both of his fists, and he easily dismantled the attacks from both warriors. The two warriors were shocked. They both felt the massive pressure from Fei, and they were forced back a little by the terrifying fist marks. For a moment, the warrior energy inside their bodies fluctuated violently, and they had to stop for a second to gather themselves. Therefore, a moment of pause appeared in the battle zone bizarrely. In that second, Fei already passed by them and disappeared into afar. However, at that moment, Fei suddenly felt like someone terrifying glanced at him. Although it only happened in a split second, it felt like a very long time from Fei's perspective. He felt like that glance contained indefensible power and could see through everything. Fei really felt like all of his secrets were exposed. Such a terrifying master. I misjudged. There is such a terrifying master among them, Faye thought. He sweated buckets, and his heart raced. After he got glanced at, he sped up even more and rushed forward as he followed the direction given on the map. He wasn't planning to turn around and identify this master. Faye's suddenly appearance put an unexpected stop to the battle that was happening. The two masters who were fighting looked at each other and went back to their groups. Fight! Why did you stop? Kill them 3. I want the bead in that guy's hand. Go get it for me. The young man who was surrounded by several warriors who weren't from the adjacent empires shouted arrogantly. This young man looked like he was from an influential family, and his arrogance and self-pride weren't hidden at all. If people observed him closer, they would realize that there were a ton of magic energy surges on his body. This magic energy enveloped him and made it hard to see through him. However, the temperament and presence of this young man didn't make him look like a master. He was more like a spoiled child. It was hard to tell why a person like him was in this mythical palace that was very dangerous. His yelling was classless, and it placed the warriors around him in a rock and a hard place. On the other side, the warrior who looked like a guard bowed at the blue-haired mid-aged man and said with guilt, "Your Majesty, please penalize me. I stained your honor. He is powerful. I couldn't defeat him in a short time. It is okay. It is not your fault. Anthony, back off for now," the blue-haired mid-aged man said. His tone was neutral, but it had a natural prestige with it. He wasn't faking it. Even his simple movements looked meaningful and majestic. "As you wish." This blonde guard named Anthony bowed again and stood behind this man with shame. It felt like he was really embarrassed by the fact that he didn't defeat his opponent. "Hey, blue-haired ghost. Yeah, you. Hand over your bead. How dare you disobey my order? Your 3 low-life bugs should be chopped into meat paste." That young man pointed at the blue-haired mid-aged man and shouted, "Pia." A crisp slapping noise sounded. The young man got slapped away like a punching bag. A red palm mark appeared on his face. Half of his face swelled, and a lot of his teeth fell out of his mouth. From his expression, it seemed like his mind was in a blank state and still didn't react yet. The warriors who were supposed to be this young man's guards were stunned. Then they quickly rushed toward the young man and protected him. Some of them were level 5 mid-tier New Moon elites, but they didn't see how the blue-haired mid-aged man slapped their young master. "Ah ha ha ha! Slap me? How dare you? You are dead. Dead. Ah ha ha, are you guys pigs? I got beat. I got beat. Go and kill him. I'm gonna turn his head into a wine cup. No, a pea cup. Kill him." The young man finally came to his sense and shouted. Perhaps the burning pain on his face triggered him. He was madder than a coyote that got its partner taken away during mating. At this moment, his guards didn't obey his command. When the blue-haired mid-aged man took a step forward, everyone felt like the surrounding changed. All of the structures and the buildings around them quickly disappeared from their visions, and this blue-haired mid-aged man was the only thing that they could see. Even though this man only took a step forward, his presence struck the guards like a huge mountain. Even level 7 mid-tier New Moon elites felt like they were grains of sand in front of this blue-haired mid-aged man. Bam! 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 The guards all kneeled with their arms propping their upper body up. Their bodies were shivering, and their warrior energy flames were burning vigorously, as if they were trying their best not to collapse onto the ground completely. "You are only a few foreigners who have low-grade bloodlines. How dare you be this arrogant in the mythical palace?" the blue-haired mid-aged man said as he lightly shook his head. He looked at these warriors who were now kneeling on the ground with disdain in his eyes. After that, he left without doing anything to them. "Let's go. The old friends are already ahead of us," the blue-haired mid-aged man said to his 2 guards and walked toward the core region. Every time he took a step forward, his body would flash and appear a few hundred meters away. It seemed like his steps followed a unique natural law. After he took 5 steps, he already disappeared into afar. The 2 powerful and murderous guards of his also followed him tightly and soon disappeared. "Ah, you damn slaves! Idiots! Trashes! They are all gone. What are you all kneeling for? Stand up and chase after them. Chop that blue-haired pig's head off. Go! The young man who was terrified rubbed his swollen cheek and shouted at his guards who were still kneeling on the ground. However, no one responded to him. The young man was infuriated. His guards, who should have listened to his demands, disobeyed his orders 2 times today. They didn't move when he told them to take the blue bead from that blue-haired mid-aged man, and they still weren't moving after that man had left. Suddenly, something terrifying happened. Boom! 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 His guards started to explode. It didn't matter if they were peak 9-star warriors or mid-tier new moon elites. Their bodies blew up as if they were watermelons that were smashed by hammers. Red and white matters flew into the air, and no complete corpses could be seen in the area. H! What is going on? This young man was shocked by the terrifying scene. The brain matter and the blood of his guards fell on his face, and he almost instantly fainted. At this moment, something occurred. Crack! It seemed like something broke as 2 pieces of beautiful jade fell onto the ground. No! The young man screamed desperately. This piece of jade was a magic item that his father gave him to protect his life. It was able to cancel out the terrifying pressure and gravity in the mythical palace. However, it broke into 2 pieces. Therefore, the magic energy surge around his body gradually disappeared. Pia! The young man collapsed onto the ground. He was only a 5-star warrior. Without the protection of his guards and the magic item, he lost the ability to survive. Like a sheep that fell into a pond of alligators, he could only wait for his death in this dangerous environment. No one knew how that blue-haired mid-aged man made his move. That man's strength was beyond anyone's imagination. After all, he easily killed multiple masters and destroyed the magic item on this young man like a god. Only at this moment, the young man regretted offending this terrifying enemy, and he finally recalled what his father said to him the day before. His father kept on reminding him to act low-key and tolerate others. Save me! Save me! Who can come and save me? This young man who was arrogant a moment ago cried out for help. He was being pushed onto the ground by the pressure, and his face paled as he felt like his death was approaching. However, who could hear his cries in this vast and empty region? Who would be willing to save someone who could only be a burden? Faye didn't know what happened behind him. He continued to dash toward the core region of the mythical palace. For some reason, Faye got anxious after seeing those 2 groups of people and being glanced by someone powerful. He had a bad feeling as if something big was going to take place. He felt like he had to find the mythical altar as soon as he could, or his world would be turned upside down. As Faye sensed the unprecedented pressure, he even stopped getting the techniques from the martial statues. As he rushed forward, he detected some energy surges ahead of him. The energy surges were so powerful that he wasn't even sure if he could win if he had to face these people. Since there were already people ahead of him, Faye got even more anxious. How is Hazel Bank doing? He hasn't communicated with me for so long. Has the undead bone dragon finished those assassins yet? Faye thought. However, since these 2 were powerful and had a ton of experience, Faye calmed down a little. As he continued his sprint, Faye realized that his map was different from the maps that other masters had. Except for those 2 groups of people he met earlier, he didn't run into any other people. Because of that, it meant his map was more secure and he was a little relieved. Soon, he entered the level 21 region. The pressure got stronger, and Faye had to unleash all his power to fight it. Silver lights could be seen around him, and he started to feel the toe on his body. Boom! As if a tile on the ground came to life, a crack appeared on it, and a holy knight who wasn't prepared for that got swallowed by the abyss underneath it. Then, the members of the execution team got closer and continued to move forward as if nothing had happened. However, they all knew that it wasn't a hallucination, and one of their peers died in that trap. There were 21 people in the execution team, and only 4 of them were Moon-class elites. Red-robed Deacon Pellegrini was the most powerful person, and he was a level 1 mid-tier new moon elite. However, since he was old and selfish, he didn't want to save those people. He was afraid that he would use up his holy power and get killed by other enemies. The other Moon-class elites felt the same way, so 6 people already died. Damn it! Why are there still traps when this path is already explored? What is going on? Pellegrini shouted with a gloomy expression. Yeah, what is going on? There weren't traps when Jesse walked past this place? A holy knight who almost died in a trap also asked. As if he suddenly thought of something, he suggested, could it be that Jesse discovered something and didn't tell us? Most people supported this opinion. That must be it. He secretly hates us, and he wants to kill us all. Otherwise, how come he didn't get killed when he walked past this location? His mark is still here, indicating that it is safe. He must be trying to kill us. Damn. He is young, but he is already this vicious. How come someone like him got recruited into the Holy Church? He is staining the honor of the god. We shouldn't have asked him to explore the path for us. He is trying to kill us. We shouldn't continue forward anymore. Call Jesse back and let him explain the situation. After losing so many peers to the traps, these priests and holy knights were all scared. At the moment, their identities and the uniforms that they were proud of couldn't bring them a sense of security, and their lives were just as fragile as ordinary people. They were all anxious, and they somehow all blamed Jesse, who was in the front exploring the safe path for them, for what happened. Among everyone, only Alan, who was the weakest, lowered his head and sighed. He didn't participate in the discussion as he knew why everyone disliked Jesse. First of all, this young priest had a saint and holy sensation around him. Many people felt guilty and inferior standing close to him. Second of all, the leader of this execution team, Pellegrini, didn't like him. Lastly, the naive Jesse stopped the virgins in the choir from sleeping with the members of the execution team, and almost everyone hated him. Therefore, as soon as this execution team entered the mythical palace, young priest Jesse was asked to explore the safe path for everyone. Pretty much, Jesse was asked to test out the safety of the path ahead of everyone using his own life. Malicious intents were definitely involved. However, it seemed like Jesse was extremely lucky, and he didn't trigger any magic traps or killing mechanisms. On the contrary, the people behind him weren't that lucky. A few of them got killed after stepping on places that Jesse stood on. Although Alan didn't think that Jesse would try to harm the members of the team, what was happening was way too strange. As he listened to the accusations thrown out by his peers, Alan felt helpless. He knew that he was too weak, and his words won't be taken into consideration. At this moment, Alan had a strange feeling. He felt like the people standing by him weren't the representatives of the god but a bunch of greedy and jealous devils, and young priest Jesse was a crystal flower that was pure and holy. This flower was able to make the people around it reflect on their sins, but it could also give people the urge of destroying it. Alan felt like he was within the first group of people while his peers around him were seduced by devils and chose the second option. Okay, ask Jesse to come back. Pellegrini agreed to the suggestions of the priests and the holy knights, and he shook his head and said, God bless. Let's hope that this kid was not lured by the devils. Suddenly, he thought of something else and asked, Bishop His Highness told us that a master of the Holy Church would be joining us. Why isn't this master here? Did something happen?